We are live. Thank you for joining us. It is the 24th of the 8th. We are here for the Monday night show. It is myself, it is Ryan, and it is Colin. So thank you guys. As always, we are here. How are you this evening?
Very well.
Very well. You sound happy, Ryan. Now, I hope you are happy, Ryan, because the first game we're going to talk about is a game I'm sure you love to watch. Myself and Colin loved it. It was Manchester United 0. It was Newcastle United 0. It took place on Saturday lunchtime. First 20 minutes in, someone asked me, Colin, so what do you think the outcome of the game is? I said, I have no interest in the result. I just want to see desire for Newcastle. When Newcastle go into games against these big clubs, which Manchester United are, we just want to see the team showing desire. If they show desire, then we do end up losing the game. I'm still happy. But we managed to get a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, so I was watching the game hoping that Newcastle wasn't going to win because I didn't really feel like singing tonight, so that was good.
People who don't know that, Colin had to sing on this evening's show if Newcastle managed to get a victory.
So the header there in the first half, you can imagine how uncomfortable I was and how thankful I was at Ding the Post. No, I agree. I don't think it was a match where we were really expecting a lot in terms of a victory, but I think the team played well. They looked in shambles early in the game. It was very disorganized. The defense didn't look, very well set up. They looked rickety, but held. The second half was much better from them. I thought they looked much more put together defensively. They looked a little calmer. They had some good breaks on Man U. So I think it was a much better show. I think they all owed Tim Krul big because he kept them in the game. But overall, I thought it was a very positive performance from Newcastle.
What I would say, Ryan, I don't know if you thought as well. In the first 20 minutes, Manchester United were completely dominant. The defence of Newcastle, I know a couple of people, one of my friends actually messaged me saying, Colaccini had a good game. No, he didn't. The guy is clueless. Colaccini is one of the worst defenders Newcastle have had. His positioning skills are dreadful. I think I could position myself on the pitch better. Yes, he made a couple of last minute tackles. Why did he do that? Because he was in the wrong position to start with. I don't know what your thoughts are from the outside, Ryan, on Colaccini's performance.
He's one. I wouldn't say he's the worst defender Newcastle have had because you've got Mike Williamson still at the squad for some very strange reason. But yeah, he's known for getting himself out of position. But you got to look at it that those last-ditch tackles have kept Man United in the game, kept Newcastle in the game, and 0-0.
Yeah, but he's a Premier League defender. He shouldn't be having him. He shouldn't be getting himself out of position so much. At one point, he was further forward than out midfield, and he looked around, and you could tell he was just thinking, I don't know where I'm at. How did I end up here? Ooh, mistake.
Well, live and learn. I'm sure he may improve over the season.
I just was not impressed by him. I mean, as a whole, Newcastle did quite well. But I don't know about yourself, Colin, but I genuinely, first 20 minutes, my head was in my hands. Yes, we got 0-0 draw. I was really impressed with the fact that we showed desire near the end of the game, but just the start of the game was so freaking scary, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I have to say that opening, we were bouncing some notes back and forth. I assumed after that opening it was going to be a 3 or 4-0 Man U win. I mean, the defense was just, there was no organization. It just looked to me like 11 guys just running around after just chasing the ball. I have to say, as the game went on, I was definitely impressed with Perez and how well he was tracking back and really contributing to the defense. I think the downside to the fact that he had to do that as much was that there was no outlet. There was really nobody up top to get the ball to when they were when they would try and get an outlet, and it was just constant pressure. And I thought, yep, this is it. It's going to go south again. We're going to get battered into oblivion and enjoy another defeat at the hands of a top club. So I like the result. I like some of what I saw from some of the players.
I think I was saying during the game to a couple of players, Mitrovic will not be in Newcastle for long. The movement and the hold-up play and the ability I thought of him during his first start here was fantastic. I do think this guy is a real talent. And I just think in the world that we live in, the way that Mike Ashley operates, if we get offered 20, 30 million, which I think is going to come, he will go. He played fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he was a great pickup. The header he had in the first half was, if it was a spot on header to a really, from a really nice cross. I'd be interested to see if that sort of movement appears more over the season. I understand it's early. There's a lot of people gelling with McLaren in there, but if we see more of that kind of movement as the season goes on, I think that'll be a great sign for the club. But I agree. I think one or two, one decent offer and he's going to get sold for and moved on.
Now, Ryan, I actually saw someone posted on our group a stat about Depay. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something with giving the ball away every 3.3 minutes.
He's got the highest loss.
He's given the ball away the most out of anyone in the Premier League so far this season.
Now, Ryan, what I want to ask you is, are you looking at that as a bad thing, or are you looking at that as the fact that he's getting on the ball a lot? He wants the ball, which for someone who's just come to the Premier League, I think fair play. At least he's wanting the ball.
Yeah, he's one of these, he's wanting the ball, but you got to look at it. In all the games that Man United have played, he's wanted the ball, and then when the ball is there to get into the box, nobody's in the box, or he's got no option to pass to, so he's got to try and get past his man. Trying to get past your man, you're either going past him or you're losing the ball. Yeah.
Just quickly, I just want to say good evening to Richard, Harry, Roy Turner, Hartman, TJ and Rai. Thank you for tuning in, people. Really appreciate everyone who's in the chat this evening. Oh, I've had a long day moving house. I'm so confused. I don't even know what time of the day it is. Ryan, you've obviously mentioned to us before the show that United have only scored 2 goals in the 3 games against Tottenham, Villa and Newcastle. You're obviously talking about the lack of a cutting edge. Is that there? Rooney hasn't obviously turned up scoring a lot of goals to start the season. Are you worrying, or are you happy with how United are looking so far?
I wouldn't say worry, because 7 points from 3 games isn't a bad start. It's better than last season, where I think we lost to Swansea and somebody else. It wasn't the best start, so we haven't had a bad start, but the attacking impetus isn't there. The play is very ponderous. It's what Ben McNaughton, another one of our admins, said. We get up to the forward positions and then we go, got no one to pass to, no one to put that ball into the box. So you can't score from those positions. Wayne Rooney, I don't know who picked it up on one of the shows that I was watching before. He's coming back into that midfield where he was played under Moyes, and he's picking up the ball where he wants it. But then when he runs forward, because he's playing as that lone striker, he's got no one to pass to in that forward position. So whether we need to go to a talk front tactic, which Rooney was used to when Van Persie was there and they were playing well together, it remains to be seen, but I can't see it happening because Van Gaal seems very stubborn and he'll stick to this philosophy he keeps going on about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that philosophy turns into anything. Okay, so moving off of that one, we'll get into the next action. So we had Crystal Palace 2, Aston Villa 1. At least my take on it is you can see the whole Benteke left at Aston Villa. It wasn't the greatest game. The first half, I'd have to say, was pretty dismal, to say the least. It was pretty unimpressive from Palace. Whatever part you said in the locker room certainly kicked them on pretty good. I don't know what your thoughts were, if there was any more on that one.
I would say that I can't remember. It's Traore, the person Villa got from Barcelona. He had a very good game, running with the ball fantastically, always wanting to get forward. I can see maybe not him back at Barcelona in the future, but I can definitely see him at a better club than Aston Villa in the future, because he definitely looks like a young talent to go forward.
Well, Agreed. There was one that I was looking forward to. So Leicester City won, Tottenham won. So I was looking forward to this game. I thought this was going to be a real test to see how much of Ranieri's work has taken hold in Leicester and how much they were starting to be for real at the top, or if this was just a bunch of lucky results. And when Tottenham scored, I thought, okay, here it is. Leicester's going back down to where they belong. I was incredibly impressed with how fast they hit Tottenham back. They just cut them apart, and it was seconds later that they knocked them back. Tottenham definitely looked the better side to me. I think you're starting to see that Harry Kane picked up a lot more attention from the rest of the league after the season he had last year. I don't think he's going to have quite the runaway season that he had last year, and he's going to have to work a lot harder in it. But I thought overall it was a very good game, very, very good showing from Leicester in that sense.
Very good showing from both teams. I think Tottenham will improve when they get Christian Eriksen back, because he's always that playmaking role, always getting that ball forward. We've got comments on the side from Richard saying Sherwood hasn't figured out the tactics that he wants to use. Or no, he hadn't figured out what tactics he wants to use at Villa. He needs to find some consistency. He thinks Palace will finish top 10. Interesting. And Rai has said United should take Kane, and that's why Berahino is going to Spurs. I don't know about you, Colin. I think I disagree with that. I think Berahino, he will end up at Tottenham, is my personal opinion, but I think that's more to take the goal-scoring impetus off Kane, because he's got so much pressure at the moment, because he's that one he's got to get the goals, because he's that great English player that everybody wants to score the goals, because he had a fantastic season last year, and he's not hit the ball running so far this season, but someone comes in and it can chip in with 15 goals this season, then there's not so much pressure on Harry Kane. I can't see him going to United, to put it that way.
No, I don't think I don't see a move for him to United. I don't think Tottenham are going to let go of the next big, English striker on that. I think part of the problem, and I think you're right, I think Berahino would be a really good outlet, because if there's two guys up front at Tottenham, you're going to have to pay a lot more attention. I think right now with just Kane up there, it's not hard for other Premier League teams. You're just going to sit on Kane. That's where they want everything to go through. That's where they want the goal scoring to go through. And it's, to be fair to the guy, it's pretty hard beating 2 and 3 defenders trying to get to the goal. So I don't think he's going to be as successful as he was. I think somebody like a Berahino coming in will help him off, will help sort of hit that pressure relief valve. I think he'll get better over the season, especially with that relief. So I think he'll still be well, and I think he'll absolutely be at Tottenham in there.
It'll definitely be interesting, because I don't know if you've heard that West Brom have turned down his transfer request today, but I think that's more West Brom being tactful, and if they accept a transfer request, he can go for less money. If not, and he's not on the transfer list, they can get more out of him, because he's English, and English players go for a lot more money than normal players.
Sure. Nope. Agreed. Okay, so moving down the list.
Sorry, I just got to say, he's not even that good of a player. And Berahino, he's a fairly decent finisher, but his movement looks clueless at times. In my opinion, I think he's an average Premier League player at best.
But I think putting him up in a good system where he's going to get sort of a 50-50 focus would be could potentially improve him. I mean, obviously it's a better club, it's a better outfit, better training. It's all around a giant improvement. So there may be, I think there's something there in him. I think it would be interesting to see him in a situation like Tottenham where he could get really developed better. I think.
I'll tell you what. After our agreement last week that if Newcastle won, you would sing live on the show. If Berahino goes to Spurs, if he scores more than 10 goals in the Premier League this year, I will sing live on webcam on this show "When My Girlfriend's Bra." That's how confident I am that he will not do it at Tottenham.
Okay.
Sorry, Colin. Go on. I'll let you get back to reviewing the games.
We'll have to keep note of that, though.
Yeah, we're gonna have to write that one down. So just checking down the side. So Richard agreed that he agrees he doesn't think Kane will have a successful year, but next year maybe a make or break. I think that's probably a pretty fair assessment. He also said Berahino's good, but still inconsistent, but may get better with age. I happen to agree. I think a better club, a better development system and time, and we'll see Paul in a bra. Agreed. Next comment down from Rybear there says, who do we think United will sign if they do sign a striker? I'll take the first shot, and then Ryan, obviously it's more your club, so you can fill in. I'm personally not convinced they're going to go after anybody. I think Van Gaal's got in his head that he's going to pound Rooney into being a number 9 on that this year.
I'm going to go exactly the same. I think Louis van Gaal's going to be stubborn. He's not going to go and buy anyone. He seems to be that Januzaj, he seems to think that he can play more forward than he usually does. So maybe we might see Januzaj playing up front, or maybe Fellaini. He seems to like playing him up front sometimes.
Well, it'll be interesting. So back into the weekend action. So in another interesting one where we got to see Shaqiri's first appearance, we had Norwich 1 and Stoke 1. It's interesting to see Shaqiri. I saw somebody posted when he had signed for Stoke that if you played his career in reverse starting now, it would be an absolutely impressive career. It was start at Stoke, transfer to transfer to Inter, and then go back to go to Bayern Munich, win a treble, and then retire at Basel. Wow. I thought it was interesting. I think he's better than the circumstance he sort of bounced around at on there. But I thought it was pretty.
I think people need to maybe sit back. I know there's been a lot laughing about this, that he's now at Stoke after being at Inter Milan and Bayern. But you can also look at that he's gone to Serie A, which is one of the shittest leagues in Europe, and he's now playing in the Premier League. So if you looked at it like that, he's playing for a good side in the Premier League. They've got more Champions League winners than most of the clubs in the Premier League, if I'm right. So, I mean, it's not as bad as people keep making out, is it, at the end of the day? Yeah. I think people... But it is funny if you kind of do look at and say, oh, it's Stoke City. But then if you look at, say, where Stoke are at this current moment, they're not a bad side.
No, I think it's a move that shows that money in football and the way the football is developing in England, it shows that lower teams can attract the good players.
Well, I think that's also where that Stoke City have a bigger transfer budget than most of the clubs in Europe at the minute.
They just spend it smartly.
They do. They spend very smartly, and I think they're going to be a surprise team this year. So, I say that. Would it be a surprise with the players you've got, Colin? Would you be surprised if they were successful?
No, I don't think so.
By successful, I don't mean winning the Premier League. I mean top 6, top 7.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see them winning the Premier League. They're not a Chelsea, Man City level squad by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that they're a club that are going to cause somebody like a Liverpool or a Tottenham a heartache this year, and really do have a shot for, be it a really strong cup run or somehow sneaking into the Europa positions. I think that's definitely a very valid, finishing point, and a very good argument to make from that's about the level where that club seems to be and kind of aiming at.
Yeah.
Right now, so I think I could buy seeing them sort of Europa League by the end of the season.
We'll just get ourselves through. So time is actually chasing us this evening. You have Sunderland 1, Swansea 1. The only thing to say on that is Swansea cost me some money. After the start Sunderland have had, all the abuse again, fair play. They've come out. They've gone back to basics. And they've managed to get a draw against a very, very, very good Premier League side in Swansea. I mean, it's sad to see that Swansea couldn't turn them over, because my timeline's been full of them this week. So we're going to the West Ham 3, Bournemouth 4. Ryan, shock of the weekend?
Well, I predicted either Bournemouth to get 3 points or to at least get a point in this game, but... fantastic game. From what I've seen on Match of the Day, end-to-end stuff, and Coventry lad Callum Wilson getting a hat-trick. Fantastic player.
You had to pick that in, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Now, what I will say, people who know us well, and there's a lot of people who actually listen live, and a lot of people listen back, know me quite well, know that I've been moving house, so I haven't really seen much this weekend. I've just watched the game this evening, I saw that. So I'm going to actually catch up after this show on all these games properly. But I did hear that, Colin, the West Ham fullbacks basically got torn apart in this game.
Dreadful.
Sorry, Ryan, maybe we should jump to Ryan for that. Ryan, do you want to just fill me in on what happened?
Aaron Cresswell had a nightmare.
He's a good player, by the way. I'll see.
He is a good player, but in this game, Aaron Cresswell and Carl Jenkinson... Dreadful games. Dreadful games for them.
Who was it? Just Bournemouth passing, or was it pace, or
it was
because Bournemouth play very nice football usually. Was that the case in this game?
Did you ever have one of those days where you shouldn't get out of bed?
Yes, today.
It was that of the day.
I think Bournemouth are going to surprise people. Now, I genuinely think. I think we said in one of the pre-season shows, Bournemouth aren't going to keep clean sheets. But if they keep doing this and they keep playing football, they are going to score. So I think they're going to be the entertainers of this season. Their aim is just going to be outscore when they can.
Man, it's like the old-fashioned how Newcastle used to play. If we can score more than you, we'll try and do that if we can. If we can't, then. Well, we've tried our best.
We still try that quite a lot now. We just can't get the scoring part done. But we're going to the next game, which I actually did manage to catch most of. I was kind of pottering about watching this one. It was West Brom 2, Chelsea 3. Now, after the start, Chelsea have had the pressure of people getting on the back, talking, abusing, basically, how bad Chelsea have started. Coming up against a very well-organised, very... strong, very confident in terms of some of the play West Brom side. Chelsea did well. Ryan, did you see this game live? Were you impressed by it?
I was impressed.
Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Were you impressed by Pedro's debut? Because I thought he looked a fantastic player. And what I want to say, Ryan, is good job, United.
And I'm not going to comment on whether United wanted him or not because I don't work for Man United. I'm not one of their scouts.
What?
Whether Louis van Gaal pulled out because he's a stubborn manager or he pulled out because he said, I want to go to Chelsea and that's just to cover their tracks. But he's looking like a steal for Chelsea. 21 million is absolutely nothing for a player like Pedro. He's got that winning mentality and he showed it in that game.
One thing I want to pick out, Colin, is and I've noticed Ryan's actually mentioned him in the pre-show notes, is Callum McManaman. This is a player who, whenever I see him play, looks a fantastic little winger. He reminds me of kind of like Sean Maloney style. And how is this guy not getting more rave reviews? I remember when he was at Wigan, he got a lot of praise and those talks of him getting called up to the England squad, etc. And just... he's one of them players who you can scratch your head and think, is it just consistency that's obviously holding him back?
Yeah, I had a similar sort of thought. I actually remember him from FM 13, I think, 13 or 14. I had sort of tripped into him and used him quite a bit. I think he's developing nicely. He clearly had multiple occasions where he was cutting up Chelsea in the back. I know he was giving fits to them in the back. So I was very impressed with him. I'm hoping to see more of him. I think he's another one, a good year at West Brom. He could disappear to a bigger, better club without a whole lot of effort.
Yeah.
At all.
What Richard in the side just saying it could have been bluff after the more reports. The info Neymar at the minute. If Neymar goes to United, I will
sing on the next show.
Yes, I will get Ryan to sing on the next show in a bra. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. The next game, I'm literally going to fall asleep reading the score. Watford 0, Southampton 0. Now, all the talk of Watford come in, they look like a decent side. But if they don't start scoring goals soon, they're going to go back down. They scored 91 goals in the Championship last season. They've achieved promotion. Now they've turned up to the Premier League and they've decided to make their home support fall asleep. I'm sorry, but it's not good enough. You've come up from the Championship. You've signed a lot of players. That's apparent. They looked fairly decent last week, but they're just not scoring enough goals, Ryan. They need to get the goals sorted. But we're going to the Everton 0, Man City 2. Were you impressed by Man City? I just want to quickly point out that the person who got stretchered away at the start is making a recovery, Ryan, which is nice to hear. Nice that Sergio Aguero recognised the situation and called for help quickly.
It is, and it's strange that the press always get onto that, like footballers aren't humans.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, he noticed somebody was ill. But it is nice that he quickly waved over for help, which you kind of expect anyway, but it is fair play just to say, oh yeah, good work, you did it.
Yeah.
Which you would do in a normal life situation. I mean, it's kind of backing up how the press are acting, but if like you saw someone ill and you called an ambulance, you would say, oh, good work doing that.
Yeah. But onto Man City, they are looking like the team that's potentially going to win the league this year. They've got so much class. David Silva, Sergio Aguero, Sterling in this game had another fantastic game. 49 million worth, probably not, but
I think it's the formation change, Ryan. They actually playing a formation which suits the team now, I think.
It is.
But they played a very interesting style of 4-3-3, aren't they? Because they almost playing a 4-2-4 because they're playing Silva behind, where you'd normally play, say, more of a defensive midfielder. They playing a guy behind that three, which it's working fantastic because obviously it's somebody sitting in that hole then setting them three away.
It is. I don't think Man United could do that because they ain't got the player. Who they're going to put in there? Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, exactly.
The legs of him.
No. What I would ask, Ryan, is do you think Navas on the wing, he's kind of like the odd man out? He looks so unconfident at the minute.
He looks unconfident, but he's one of these players. He came to Man City with rave reviews coming from... Where did he come from? I forgot the team he came from.
Who we talking about? Navas? He came from Sevilla, didn't he?
Yes. And he's one of these players that he'll have one good game, and then the next game he looks like he's not confident enough, doesn't want the ball. But it's early on in the season. I think they can get him, if they get him more involved in the play. I think on one of our earlier shows earlier in the season when Man City dominated, I think it was the Chelsea game. Navas had a fantastic game in that. Against Chelsea.
I think because of his pace, if he is on it, he's a good player because he can create himself the space because of it. But he's so predictable to an extent where there was a point where the defender just put his foot out. Now, Navas actually turned away from that foot, but then turned back into it. And the defender physically didn't move. It's like he's thought, well, he's going to cut back, I'll just stay standing here. And if he'd only just gone under his left foot, the space was there, but he just kind of turned back into it. And even the commentator, I think, brought it up at a point. He just said he just keeps turning into trouble.
Yeah, and I don't think he's one of these that will cut in onto that left foot. He doesn't look very confident on his weaker foot.
Doesn't look confident on his good foot. Yesterday, he had a couple of one-on-ones with Howard, didn't he? Where he just, instead of putting it low or burying it into the top of the net, it was just dreadful. It was literally just kind of kick straight at Howard saves it. But we'll jump onto the Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0, which was a fantastic game. I know we're saying it 0-0. As soon as you hear that, you think, well. But I want to ask this, everybody listening now, and including Colin and Ryan, I want your instant reaction. Can Liverpool win the Premier League this season?
No.
No.
You guys are clueless. You're as bad as them people who are slagging Benteke off, because Benteke tonight looked that play that Liverpool are needing. Now, I don't know, did you see the game, Ryan? I know, Colin, you've been busy. Did you not think Benteke's link play, his movement, the fact he was backing in, the fact he was dropping off for the ball, the link-up play of the midfield, I thought the way they were dropping deep, they were making themselves impossible for Arsenal to get behind properly. I was seriously so impressed by Liverpool tonight, and if they play like that, there is no reason why against the lesser teams, no disrespect to them, Liverpool could turn them over and grind these kind of results against the big clubs.
See, I can agree with you in part. They've played really well today, but if you're not going to get the results against the higher teams like Arsenal, Liverpool are not going to win the league.
But surely taking a point here and then going against the likes of Bournemouth and getting the victory, grinding out the victory, going to the likes of Stoke City, grinding out the victory. Surely the points against the big clubs away from home and then victories against the lesser clubs, they're gonna be successful doing that, no?
They'll be successful. I just don't think they've got enough to win the league.
What about yourself, Colin? Obviously, I know you didn't see the game tonight, but seriously, this doesn't happen often. But I recommend watching this 0-0 draw. Because there's some great play.
I'm definitely going to take a look at it. I don't think so. For me, I think Benteke is a nice improvement for him. Okay, I've probably been a little harsh on him. I'm still not sold that totally on him. I think he is playing well. I think he's happy at Liverpool, which makes a big difference. I don't see enough of the depth and consistency. I think the big thing that Liverpool have done that they haven't had in a long while is the midfield is reliable, but I'm not necessarily sure that reliability and steadying from that is going to be enough to kind of push them over that top. Could they sneak into the top 4? Yeah, maybe. I think if Man U doesn't kind of kick it in or Arsenal gets out of whatever funk they're in, I think you could make an argument that Liverpool are going to be in the conversation. I don't see them playing in the same league as City is right now.
I think
it's painful to say.
I mean, what I will say is just if Ryan and Colin can help me out, the Twitch has crashed for myself, so if people do comment, I can't see anything. So please just jump in if people say stuff. But what I will say about Arsenal this evening, Ryan, was especially in the first half. I don't know if they'd been asked to help Liverpool out, but Callum Chambers and Gabriel, I don't even know how to say it. What were they doing?
Some very, very interesting way of playing football.
I mean, there was
clumsy.
There was even when they gave it away. The ball ricocheted about. One of the Arsenal midfielders got it. Now, all you're thinking is, right, just get rid of it. But no, he has to do a little bit of a dribble, then he loses it. And you're just like, why are you doing this? And you look at, and then the camera switched to the bench, and I was watching NBC, and Lee Dixon just says, no one's getting up. And even he was thinking Steve Bold or Wenger is going to stand up and just bollock the defence, because they were just dreadful. And they only survived because of Peter Cech pulling off one of the saves of the season, which turned down Coutinho's shot under the post, Ryan.
It's fantastic. He made a few great saves.
What I will say is them video clips, cartoon animations of Cech going back to Chelsea, like saying, "Oh, we want to trade him back."
Yeah.
Bet they feel like a right set of knobheads now. Because he showed them that everybody can have a bad day. And I think even I was a bit critical of him. And he showed that everybody can have a bad day on that pitch, because he was outstanding this evening.
He was.
So we go on, Colin?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I've been a little rough on him too. But, one game, I think we're seeing the Cech that we expected to see.
It's becoming a bit often, that, Colin, isn't it? You come on the show and go, I was a little bit rough on that one.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think we can see over the next few games. We did have a question on the side from Richard. He wants to know, what do we think? Will Coutinho be the same player this year or better? His comment was he's had a few good chances already this season, which he may have taken last year. I'll kick it off. I think he's going to be more of the catalyst for Liverpool than he was at anything prior. I think he'll be better. I think he's starting to shape up as much more of the attacking creative force going on there. I think the midfield solidified, but they lost the creativity there between Henderson and Milner. They're not a particularly creative crowd. I think he's going to be the spark that's going to define their ability to succeed this year.
I think the thing that I think a lot of people will miss out, now I genuinely think people need to sit and analyse a game and just sit back and look at the movement on and off the ball. Because this season, Coutinho will not look as good as last season. But he will be better. Now, the reason he's not going to look as good is their new signing from Hoffenheim, who I can never pronounce his freaking name. This guy, he had some sparks this evening, and he looks like he's going to be a talent. Now, when you put two fantastic players in the squad, they both look good instead of only one person standing out massively. And Coutinho, a couple of times this evening, the dip of the shoulder, Colin, I urge you to see this where he kind of drops inside, then goes to shuffle back onto his left, but just completely destroys the defender. And then it's where Czech makes our wonder save.
He destroyed Bellerin today. I'm sure it was Coutinho and Bellerin. I don't know why he did it, and I was a right back when I played, and Thierry Henry said it, you never show your number to a forward. Never show the back of your shirt. And he turned around, did a 360, and Coutinho was gone.
It's Coutinho is going to be fantastic. And do you know what? For a man who turned up and literally looked like he weighed about 2 stone wet through, he has adapted to the Premier League and he's getting better and better. He is a fantastic talent. And I think this year, with the extra help he's going to get in the squad, I think, especially with, again, Benteke being able to kind of lay the ball off for Coutinho to run onto, I think he's going to be fantastic this year, Ryan. I'm really excited to see Liverpool this year. I just want to quickly shout to Giroud. He got 100th game, 42 goals in the 100 games. Only Henry, Wright and Adebayor have scored more in the first 100 games for Arsenal. So, can Arsenal win a league with Giroud as the striker, Colin?
So I will fully say that I thought that Czech was really the missing link. I think Giroud's good enough. If Czech continues to play as well as you said he played tonight, I think they're going to be a force to reckon with. I saw today some rumors that Cavani wants to come to Arsenal. I think Giroud could do it. I really do. I think he's more dynamic than just a pure goal scorer. I think he creates other opportunities, and with Sanchez there, the two of them together are really a dynamite goal-scoring duo. It would be interesting to see a Cavani into that mix, especially how he would blend and merge with Sanchez. But no, I do think that they could do it. I think their flaws were much more defensive than offensive, and I think they could pull it off.
Well, I think if the defensive display this evening is anything to go by, when Koscielny and Mertesacker are absent, they are not a top 4 side. But before we go on to some European games and a bit of MLS, because it was a fantastic game, I just want to quickly mention the team of the week. And this is down to Finchy, one of our loyal listeners. He comes on quite a lot to watch our streams and the shows. He picked out Charlton Athletic this week. 9 of the 18 players who played at the weekend came through the academy. They were predicted to get relegated this season. In the first 4 games, Ryan, they've picked up 10 points, and that's from games against QPR, Derby, Nottingham Forest and Hull City. I think that's a start to be proud of.
Definitely a start to be proud of. You look at those teams, QPR, Derby, Tottenham Forest, Hull, they're all teams that are always within the mix in the Championship. And to get a start like that with your own academy players on the pitch, something to be proud of.
Exactly, definitely a team to watch. Going to be interesting to see if they can continue up that form. But we're going to go over to Colin, our resident Bundesliga and French league, which I will not pronounce. Colin, do you want to just run through the scores?
Sure. So Bundesliga action for the weekend. I'm going to go in reverse order. So FC Ingolstadt 0, Borussia Dortmund 4. Borussia Mönchengladbach 1, Mainz 2, Frankfurt 1, Augsburg 1, Hanover 0, Bayer Leverkusen 1, Hoffenheim 1, Bayern Munich 2, FC Cologne 1, Wolfsburg 1, Schalke 1, Darmstadt 1, Hamburg 3, Stuttgart 2, and Hertha Berlin 1, Werder Bremen 1. Bundesliga action this week, if you're looking for highlights, I would say Borussia Dortmund's got their foot on the gas pedal in the league. They're definitely very different than they were last year. Good to watch. The free kick for the Bayer Leverkusen goal was absolutely a thing of beauty. If you see it on the highlights, I certainly encourage checking it out. I feel bad for Hoffenheim. I think they tied the record for the fastest Bundesliga goal at 9 seconds. In that one, they held on for the next, 91 and change minutes, and Bayern just cut them back. The goal was beautiful that they pulled ahead on. Most interesting game of the week for me, though, was the Hamburg-Stuttgart game. I know Richard's got some comments on the side with Stuttgart being relegated. I don't think I can argue too much with you. I think they looked absolutely, they've looked terrible in the couple of games I've seen, and Hamburg came to play. So it was really, really, really great game. Great atmosphere, and just a dynamite game on that one in there. And then if you'd like, we can migrate our way into French League 1.
I was just going to say, can I just quickly mention that the Hertha Berlin Werder Bremen was on Eurosport. I actually caught quite a bit of that. And the football was fantastic. The 25-30 minutes I managed to see of the game. Really, really good football. The crowd was quite vocal as well, so definitely worth checking out your Eurosport and seeing if you can catch the games.
Yeah, no, I'm loving watching it. It's much, very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay, so into France. So just running down the scores, we had Laurent 0, Saint Etienne 1, Lille 0, Bordeaux 0, Marseille 6, Troyes 0, Lyon 1, Rennes 2, GFC Ajaccio 0, Angers 2, Nice 2, Caen 1, Bastia 3, Guingamp 0, Nantes 1, Reims 0, Toulouse 1, Monaco 1, and Montpellier 0, PSG 1. To me, nothing was super standout this week in France. The best news, I think, of the weekend was Marseille coming out and just absolutely leveling Troyes 6-0. They were really in need of a swift kick in the pants, and that seems to be the kick that they needed. It'll be interesting to see if it carries over into next week. But
you did miss.
Pop back.
You have missed something, Colin, and I'm quite disappointed you've missed this as a Newcastle United supporter. Hatton Ben Arfa scoring an absolute worldie of a solo goal. So fair play to this guy. Has talent. He just doesn't have the desire to use that talent weekly. But his goal for Nice was one to watch. It was
Agreed.
An absolute worldie.
Agreed.
So I had to bring that in.
No problem.
But we want to move on, Colin, to your neck of the woods, the United States of America. And there was a game which was dubbed as Gerrard versus Lampard. But as I predicted a week before, Lampard would miss it. And he did. And basically, I think the best way to describe it was LA Galaxy decided what they would do is show New York City Football Club what happens when you try to enter the MLS. And they absolutely battered them, Colin.
Yeah, so I would agree. I think the only way to describe that game was one-sided. LA are just looking fierce. That is a brilliant squad that they've put together, and the use of the targeted allocation money to pay down Omar Gonzalez's contract enough to bring Gio Dos Santos in is just an absolute brilliant move. So, Gerrard looked great. They did what they wanted to do. New York City looked lost. Their defense looked, just terrible again.
Shit, he was going to say.
They were cut to shreds all over the place. I strongly believe that game could have been significantly worse in the future, or it could have been significantly worse if they felt like it. I think at some point they took the foot off the gas a little bit. New York was just terrible. I think the other big game in MLS to note this week was the San Jose Earthquakes seem to have kicked into gear to get their playoff move started and took down the DC United 2-0. So with a good win Wednesday night for my Red Bulls in Chicago, when we go to see against DC United, if we win those 2 games, we could be top of the Eastern Conference and giving LA a run for their money for the Supporters' Shield for this year.
That's how excited he sounds until they play LA Galaxy and get absolutely battered. But until then, you can be confident.
We don't see them again for the rest of the season, so we saw them at the beginning of the season.
I think, do you know what, as obviously a friend of yours, Con, I would love to see Red Bulls win it this year, just to see how happy you would be coming on the show. But I think you would have to hope that nobody wants to hope for, and that the likes of Gerrard and Dos Santos pick up injuries. I think that's the only way you would beat them, because Gerrard at times during that game, I'm sure he was laughing to himself, for example, because he is a class above. And now I know he did an interview before the game, just going back to that game, he did an interview before the game and he was talking about how he took a fitness coach on holiday before he came to the US. And he was glad he did it because he turned up fit. It took him a couple of games to adjust to the heat, which he's admitted, and he said he's used to it now. And his passing stats and just his all-round play, Colin, he's walking through the games at the minute.
Yeah, there was an interesting article on MLSsoccer.com too, where he talked about how Robbie Keane talked to him before the transfer window and said, gave him a good explanation of how the league played, and that he had talked to Beckham to get an understanding of the league and how much more impressed he was with how much farther ahead the play was than he thought it would be, but how much he felt that understanding that and taking the time to prepare really helped him hit the ground running. So, LA's scary, and they're only going to get better. So whoever wins MLS Cup this year, that road's going through Los Angeles, which is not all that uncommon, but that road has to go through LA. Yeah.
Just going to quickly pick out some other football news before we end, Colin. Former Liverpool and Finland defender Sami Hyypiä is now the manager of Swiss side FC Zurich. Borussia Dortmund, now I'm sure a few people saw this, Ryan, they were 3-0 down to Norwegian side Odd in midweek.
Yep.
That could have been a massive shock. They actually came back and won the game, if I'm correct.
They did. 4-3 it finished. So
which
Dortmund,
is even more impressive.
I mean, impressive for both teams. I've only seen highlights of this game, and I think even to watch the full game would have been amazing to watch. I mean, I know you know more about Norwegian football than me, but Odd they looked fantastic. To go up against a team of Borussia Dortmund and the players that they have, although they didn't have a good season last year, Odd just seemed to outclass them, but then Dortmund went that class above.
Well, they're definitely a good side, Odd are a good side, but they're not the best in Norway, but they are a young side, so I think they knew who they were coming up against, and when people say you have nothing to lose, just go out there and do what you can do. And I think that's what they did, and before they knew it, they were probably shocked themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the end of tonight's show. So we want to thank people for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this evening's football chat, and we will see you all next week for the week.